Cool. Awesome, guys. What's up? It looks like we're live. Thank you to everybody for tuning in today to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network. If you're watching, just let us know that these streams are working by either tagging a friend who loves tattoos or letting us know where you're beaming in from. I want to say a thank you to everybody joining us on YouTube or Facebook, and a special thanks to all of you who are listening to this podcast. All of these network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, and panels can be enjoyed all the time at reinventing247.com. While you're there, you can enter to win a goodie bag with samples from Cheyenne Cartridges, Raw Pigments, and D-Lives Pro. So if you're watching today, we have several other weekly drawing groups that are awesome to be a part of that are set up a little bit differently. Every Sunday at 1 p.m. we have Jason Leeser with his Reinventing Drawing Group, where all skill levels are welcome. Either you can bring a design you're working on. If you'd like something critiqued, that's an awesome place to join to do so. Every Monday evening we have our evening canon class with subscribers, led by Guy Aitchison. Every month we focus on different topics, so it's a great idea to jump on, subscribe to that canon, and join other artists every single week for something that you can focus on your skill set. Every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., we have Ricardo Sertivant's Reinventing Drawing Group. Wednesdays at noon is the Tattoo Now show. And Thursday mornings, earlier in the morning before this, we have Kier with Fundamentals class for subscribers. And you can find us right back here every single Thursday at noon for the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. So other than that, we are excited to kick off today. We don't have Jordan, but we do have Fawn and myself. We're just going to chit chat for a little bit about some cool topics that Fawn has in mind. Yeah. So Fawn, how's it going today?
It's going good. I actually had a rad conversation lined up with a lifelong friend of mine who is she's older than me, and she's always been heavily tattooed and probably one of the first close people to me that was heavily tattooed. Things fell through. So hopefully we'll be able to reschedule and get her on next week. Yeah. But this week I did a little bit of brainstorming. And I was thinking a lot of times Jordan and I have talked about how to find your right artist and what qualities to look for in an artist and things like that. But one of the frustrations that myself and my manager are running into is my inbox is just constantly filled. But how do we line up the right people for the right projects, not just for me, but for all other artists. And, when you've got a lot of artists that work in a way where they'll open their books for a few days and then they close them again for a few days. So they're going to have this flood of 50 messages or 100 messages or however many messages of people that want to get worked on by them. And when you've got that many inquiries coming in at the same time, as a collector, how do you make your project rise to the top of the stack? How do you get that artist's attention when they've got all of these other people that want their attention as well? How do you make it so that the artist sees your idea and wants to take your project on? How do you get that artist's attention? You found the artist, this is the right one, but how do I get them to say I'm the right collector for them? So I just feel there's I talk about it a lot one-on-one with people, but there are a lot of things that will really help you get your potential artist's attention. So one of the things that I'm going to say over and over again is to be patient. One of my pet peeves is when and squeaky wheel is a word I use a lot to describe a lot of kinds of people and problems. But be patient. Don't be a squeaky wheel. You know what I mean? You want your artist to be excited to see you, and you want your artist to be excited about your project. You don't want to make them feel pressured before the project is even started. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to speak from the point of view of both a tattooer who deals with the struggle of finding the right client for the kind of work that I want to do, as well as being a collector who wants to get the attention of world-renowned artists who I want to collect from them and I want to learn from them. So there's a lot of different rabbit holes we can go down with this topic today. But one of the things that's really important, and my manager and I have recently kind of worked this into the way that she is kind of sorting through inquiries for me, and the way that she's kind of like narrowing down the pack to like a smaller manageable group of people to put on my waiting list. And one of the things that we've started asking is because like sometimes she'd hit me with a question about somebody and it's like, no, that's not really the style that I would do, but I've always worked on them and their whole family. So of course I'll do it. And she's like, oh, okay. So one of the questions that I've had her start asking if like an idea isn't quite 100% on the mark for what I'm looking for, I have her ask, are you just looking to be tattooed or are you looking to be tattooed by Fawn for a specific reason? So that's going to bring me to like my first most important piece of advice that I can give you when you're like composing your email to reach out to somebody or you're composing your DM or, you know, whatever your artist preferred way to reach out. I have a form on my webpage that goes to my email, but there's a couple different boxes where you have the opportunity to put your own words and your own ideas. So I think the most important thing to start off with is let your artist know what you like about their work first. You know what I mean? Like you have to, for instance, when I was having my consultation with Adam France, when we were talking about my leg, when we were very first starting to just get to know each other, we'd only been around each other a few times. We didn't know each other personally at all. One of the things that I said to him, and I could see him kind of light up as I said it, was I really like the way you use temperature in your compositions. Like I really like the way that like everything it has like this extreme hot side, and the other side's going to have this extreme cool side, and then they work together magically without becoming muddy. And he was like, "Thanks for appreciating that, man." Like it was cool that like I felt like he knew I appreciated what he was working so hard to do in his paintings. And that's what drew me to him is that like energy, that hot and cold. And that's just an example of like what really drew me to Adam as opposed to all of these other bio artists, because all bio artists are totally different. But with Adam, it was really that, you know, yes, it's sci-fi. Yes, it's kind of organic. Yes, it's robotic and crazy. And it's big transformation kind of pieces. But that warm and cool, I just really love the dynamic warm and cool. So once we had that conversation, it was just smooth sailing. You know what I mean? Just smooth sailing. With Russ, with my project with Russ, it is very ornamental, but it's not like your typical Russ Abbott piece. So with him, it was also like even at our consultation, it was me kind of describing the things about his work that I liked that made him or his work his. Like I'm excited for these tricks. These tricks are what I want to wear. These tricks, these illusions are what I want, you know, like so much freedom, but these tricks are what I want. So it's just important to like, first of all, let your artist know why you even like their work. For instance, as a tattooer, I could open my inbox right now and I'm going to have probably 5 or 6 people that want black and gray portraits, 3 or 4 people that want lettering, a couple of people that want small watercolor tattoos. And I'm just using these examples of like, yes, they're tattoos that I have worked in that style in the past. But if you read my webpage tells you that I'm looking to do full color work. I'm looking to do large work. I'm looking to do like abstract or visionary kind of work. So it's a funny thing when it's all like black and white, what I want to do and what I'm looking to do and the projects that I'm taking on. And like, I have a list of people that want these things and these are what I want to do. And then people will still message me with these off the wall ideas where like, now, are you just wanting me to recommend somebody else or, so it's a funny conundrum. So like automatically, if you have sent me a request that isn't like in my wheelhouse that I'm looking to do more of, automatically my manager is going to kind of filter you out of the pack. So this is where the next important thing is if you can't really describe specifically what you like about my work in particular, this would be where you could say, I really want Fawn to do this piece because, you know, it could be because they worked on my mother, they worked on my best friend, and, or, so some people come to me because, yeah, I have a certain reputation for like kind of babying my clients, so if it's somebody who's got a lot of anxiety and they're just wanting to test the waters, and like they want a big piece but they want a little piece first just to get to know me, like that's it's okay to say that too. It's okay to like put in there, like, I know what I'm asking for isn't quite 100% what you're looking for, but I'd like to just kind of meet you and collect a little piece first and then discuss my bigger idea. That's happened a lot. I've gotten some of my best clients from a consultation inquiry or a project request form that's, I want to do something small now, but I definitely want to do this larger thing. I just want to start with the small one and maybe we can grow from there. And I don't mind doing it like that, but you've got to put it in there. You've got to say, here's the reason I want this artist to work on me. I know my project isn't 100% what they're looking to do, but here's why I want them specifically to do it. And we've all got different reasons, but when your reason's good, or when it's personal enough, or artists make exceptions, I don't hardly ever do lettering anymore, but when I do, like, usually it's got a purpose, or it's got maybe it's to match somebody else's lettering in another project, or there's always extenuating circumstances. So, you know, be thorough, but put in what you love about the artist's work, like what drew you to the artist, and then also include if it's not a specific work reason, like if it's not a specific style that they do, but it's something about the person, you think that's the right person to make this sacred mark on you, you got to let them know that. Because it makes a difference. If I've got a pile of 30 emails that I've got to get through, and I know I can only schedule 6 of those over the next 2 months, how do I pick and choose? I feel like I'm just talking in circles, but there's just so many, like, how do you pick? So I want collectors to realize that, like, it's not magic, but it kind of is magic. Um One thing not to do. So definitely say what you like about your artist's work. Say what you like about your artist as a person, if that's the reason you're coming to them. But don't necessarily go like on a flatter rampage. Don't go overboard with it. Don't flatter just for the sake of flatter, because now you're going to throw up red flags in the whole opposite direction. Be genuine. Be genuine and say, I love this about your work. Or, like, I know you do this, this, and this, and that's all awesome, but I really like this specific niche that you do. Or, like, I love this one tattoo that you did, and I'd love something like that. You know, um, you don't have to be like, man, you're the best tattoo artist I've ever seen in my whole life. You're the best in the world. Like, we've heard that all. Like, any artist who's tattooed for more than 6 months, like, our friends pump us up, our followers pump us up, our collectors pump us up, our family members pump us up. So we don't need to be flattered in the inquiry and your project request. You don't have, like, be polite, like, but you don't have to schmooze. You don't have to pile on the sugar. Just say, like, this is what I like about your work. This is what I like about you. This is why I want you to work on me, and this is why I think you're the perfect artist for my project. And sometimes the more flexible you can be in your wording, the easier it is for an artist to be like, okay, this person's going to be cool to deal with. All right. If you're too overpowering, I mean, like I said, don't be like flirtatious, don't be too flattering, but also don't be curt. Don't be curt with an artist. Don't come off as curt because you've had to wait too long for an email response back. Don't be curt because you haven't gotten a response. It's hard. It's really hard to, like, as an artist, be fair and pick out, You know, some artists literally open their email inbox and they'll just like blindly pick 3 or 4 and that's their consultations. Like they'll literally just pluck them out randomly. And I mean, is that fair? I mean, I can't say that it's not fair, but how do you know that you're doing the best service to yourself and all of the other collectors? You know, like it's important to line up the right artist with the right project and the right collector, and all those variables make a difference. So be I don't know. It's funny to be like, don't be flattery, don't be overboard with it, but just be cool. Like one of my favorite keywords in a inquiry or in a message that I get from somebody is I'm patient. Like when somebody literally just says, I'm patient. I would love for you to do this, but I'm patient. Um that usually is, yeah, definitely add them to the list. Like add them to the list. I want to at least talk to them about their idea. Like even if it's going to be 6 months before I see them face to face, go ahead and add them to my list because they're 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 clearly they've done their homework. They know that there are people in line ahead of them. They know that, like, I don't know. One of my pet peeves, and this is just me, and this may not be a pet peeve of all artists, but one of the things that really grinds my gears is when and I don't have this happen often, but like, you know, somebody will ask when your next availability is, and you offer them the very next availability, and then they'll say, is there anything sooner? Or can I pay more to get in sooner? Now, I already told you my next availability. And then it just, I don't know, maybe the pet peeve for me is I just feel kind of like insulted, like, oh, you thought I was lying. Oh, you think I have more days. And then the other thing is, oh, you think you're more important than my other clients who are already scheduled. So that may not even be what somebody means when they say that, but like as a busy artist who's oftentimes stressed out because I have too much on my plate, when somebody says, can I get in sooner than the date that I have offered them? It's like, so you don't value my time or my days off or my like mental well-being. And you can't say this to every client, and I can't like take it personally anytime a client, you know, asks for a sooner day, but it's one of those like, you asked for my soonest day and I gave it to you and that wasn't good enough. So I don't know what else I can do. Um it's so funny. It's so precarious because it's just, I don't know. It's very easy as an artist to come off as arrogant and to come off as we're just like picking and choosing the best people, you know, like we're playing favorites, where like truthfully, I do have some clients that are just my most favorite people in the world. And I love seeing them. I love talking with them. I love learning from them. But like, I don't play favorites when it comes time to schedule. Like if you already have a project started, you're in one category. And if you don't have a project started yet, you're in another category. But that's simply it. Those are my two. There's no favoritism after that. Like if you are on my waiting list for a consultation, like there's no once you're on that list, it's just when it's your turn. There's no favoritism. There's no, you know, people can get hurt feelings over anything nowadays. So if your artist doesn't schedule you as quickly as you think they should, or like if they're not giving you a weekend day and you really want a Saturday or Sunday, they simply might not have weekend days. There was a point in my career where I didn't have a single free weekend for 8 months. Do you know what it's like to look in your schedule and be like, well, I guess I don't make any weekend plans for almost a year? That's pretty crazy. So these are all reasons that it's just so important to be patient. Just the more patient you are with your artist, the more your artist is going to look forward to seeing you. You know what I'm saying? Be the treat, be the joy, be the client that you might only be able to see your client or your artist every 6 months. But when that artist sees you, be the client that they are excited to see. Be the client that they're like, man, I have been looking forward to our appointment all week. Be the client where your artist knows you're so laid back that they can wear pajamas to work. Like, be that person. That's when you can be the kind of collector, like once you've committed to your project and once the ball is rolling, when you can be the kind of collector that is just so laid back and like, those are inevitably, for me, and I think most tattooers that I know, like when your client is that laid back and gives you that much freedom, you get the most accomplished on those days, I think. But the most magic happens, like your artist is comfortable, so their creative energy is just flowing at a different degree. Where, like, if we've got a client who we know, let's use for instance, we've got a client that's on a tight time schedule. They have 3 hours. We can only work on them 3 hours from setup, tear down, aftercare spiel, out the door. That already is a lot of pressure. What if I just wanted to do this one thing that would make the tattoo exponentially better, but it's going to take another 45 minutes? I don't even have that option as an artist. So now I'm pigeonholed and now I'm like working against the clock. And I'm just using that as one variable. Maybe this will bring me to another point that I had. On tattoo days, this kind of goes back to like the squeaky wheel versus the like delight client. On your appointment days, whether it's a large tattoo or a small tattoo, make your tattoo appointment not your greatest priority, but your only priority, because you're going to have this forever. So take the one day and make it your only priority. That way your artist can give you everything that they have, and we're not working around any weird things going on because you've got other things on your plate. As an artist, once I show up at the shop, my day is cleared for my client. Very, very, very rarely do I have plans after work. And if I do, they're usually so loose that, like, don't count on me making it because I might get carried away with this. But just keep your day committed to your tattoo. Make make your tattoo the same priority that your artist is making your tattoo. Like, if your artist has put all of this homework into it and your artist has all this time set aside for the day and your artist has all this creative energy that they've put into it and set aside, give that back. Don't be the client who, and I know watching the clock for pain is a different issue. We'll get to that. But like, if you're the client that's constantly looking at your clock or constantly like, let's use like checking in with a spouse, for instance. Like, I love like when my clients will FaceTime with their spouses and stuff when we are tattooing. But sometimes there'll be like extra distractions from whatever is going on that FaceTime. Like, for instance, I've had clients who are parents who will start disciplining their kids in the middle of a session, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but their blood pressure goes up, they get stressed out, and now they're not sitting quite as good because they're like anxious and worked up. So like, yes, your children are always a priority, but like on the days that you're getting tattooed, put them in the care of somebody you can trust. That way you can be 100% into this project, just like your artist is. And if you're like that, your artist will love you. Your artist will look forward to working on you. Your artist will look forward to starting the next project with you. I tell my clients all the time to look at their tattoo day as their spa day. A lot of my clients are super busy. Some of my clients have multiple jobs, multiple children, and the one day every month that they see me, or the one day every 6 weeks, or however often it is, that's their me time. You know what I mean? And I encourage my clients to make it their me time. Like, yes, I'm going to be hurting you all day, but like, show up in your pajamas, bring your favorite snack food, bring your favorite pillow and blanket, like, be comfortable. It's just me and you, no judgment. Show up looking like a bum. It all works out. And you'll have so many better memories attached to your project because you and your artist are both on the same wavelength and you're both putting all of your energy into your project instead of, talking about stresses that are going on at home that you can't do anything about right now anyways because we're both committed to this. Like just let everything go and let your tattoo day be your tattoo day. um Now there is the exception. Some people watch the clock and get distracted and like get antsy and fidgety because it just hurts and they physically need a break. That's totally different. That's part of the process. But again, if we're on a time crunch and you only have 3 hours, now as a collector, you don't have the luxury to take a break if you need to go catch your breath because you're on a time crunch. So now you're sitting there more uncomfortable than you need to be. Where if you had the time, you could just take a 10 or 15-minute stretch, recompose your thoughts, gather yourself, sit back down in the chair and be nice and relaxed and continue with the tattoo. No harm, no foul. But if you're on a time crunch, now your artist is even more limited while you gather your thoughts and bring yourself back together. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have to take a break to gather yourself. That's normal. But I'm just saying, like, if time crunch is a weird thing, it's just going to make the whole session less productive. If you have like work distractions and work calls while you're being tattooed, that's just going to make for a distracted setting. And, your work might be a little bit less good or awesome than it could be, where, when you're, you're both dedicated, you don't have distractions. Now your conversation is just between you and your artist. It's whatever you want to talk about. It is, it's stress relieving or it is therapeutic or whatever kind of conversations you have with your artist. It could just be funny. You guys could just be chopping it up the whole time, but that's going to be a great day. It's going to, and if you're distracted, you don't get those same experiences. You don't get those same connections with your artist. So like once you have gotten your artist's attention, once the artist is like, yes, this project is rad, you are rad, I want to work on you, I want you to carry my work, make the tattoo the same priority, especially if you have waited months and months to get in with an artist. Don't put parameters on it. I guess I'm saying it in a very long-winded kind of way, in a very loose kind of way, but like, just don't put parameters on it. Set the whole day aside. And that's going to make you be the kind of client or collector the artists just enjoy seeing. um let's see, what else were we talking about? Okay, so this is going to bring me to the next thing. Keep your appointments. Just keep them. Like once you've scheduled with your artist, like I was just saying, like dedicate that whole day to your tattoo project. It kind of goes that way with your scheduling as well. I know most artists will have like, as long as you get in touch with me in a few days, you don't forfeit your deposit. As long as you get in touch with me in a few days, we can reschedule, no problem. But lately, there's a problem that I've had where I've got a couple of people who will schedule a day at the end of their session. So we'll basically schedule their follow-up session at the end of said night. And then it turns into like 6 weeks of emailing my manager back and forth to reschedule over and over again. So I've got one project in particular. It moved several times, but in moving it several times, I have had 2 days that I offered this client, and neither of those days I could refill because they canceled the week before or whatever the situation was, and nobody was available those days. Where if those days would have been available when I could have offered them to people, I could have just worked those days. Like I could have gotten progress done on my other projects. So long story short, we're 3 days in on one session. So now I'm at the point where I'm totally excited about the project and I do like the person, but now it's to the point where session 2 has already cost me 3 days. So as an artist, like let's set the money factor aside. let's set the, so now I've got 3 days into your project and 0 days into 2 other projects that I could have worked on. So that's where it gets frustrating as an artist to, and I understand things come up. Like, I understand I have to reschedule sometimes, and sometimes I'll forget about an obligation. It's like, hey, I'm a bonehead. I forgot I had this day. We got to move our appointment. So I understand it happens. But when it's multiple reschedules within several weeks before we've even seen each other for our second appointment, it gets very discouraging. That's the word I'm looking for. It gets very discouraging because it makes me apprehensive that our whole project is going to go this way. It makes me apprehensive that our whole project, I'm going to be just pulling teeth to get you back in my chair for this thing that you waited for years. And now I feel like I'm working too hard to give you what you want. Like, hmm, it's a funny, discouraging thing because it makes me nervous that we're going to lose momentum on the whole project. It makes me nervous that we're not going to finish the project. And then on top of it, I've got all of these days and holes in my schedule where, like, I could have been working and making progress on other projects, but I mean, I did get to spend the day at home with my dog, which is fine, but I could have accommodated somebody else on those days. And hmm, it's just discouraging. So don't be that collector. Like, once you've set a date with your client or your artist, once you've set a date with your artist, do everything you possibly can to keep that day. Because let's say it's a Thursday night, we finish at 8 p.m. I schedule you for a month later on another Thursday night. And then between now and then, I've got 6 people that might have wanted that same Thursday, or that Thursday could have worked just perfect for them. But you cancel on me 3 days beforehand, and I can't reach out to any of these people because they all need to, like, make arrangements with work, and where it would have worked perfect. But because I filled that day for 3 weeks with your appointment, and then at the last minute had to remove it, now those other people, they all could have had the option to have that day and they have missed out. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make, is like, aside from me and my schedule and my time, because, like, I've got enough projects going on. I can whatever time I have available, I can be productive with. However, isn't that a little unfair to my other clients who would have wanted that day, or who would have wanted progress on their project? That's where it gets frustrating, is because the squeaky wheels, the clients that tend to be squeaky wheels, they're the ones that inevitably add stress to a busy artist's already busy, stressful life. But they take away from the good clients. Like, the squeaky wheels are the ones that take away from the laid back, chill client that is like, yeah, I'm ready to just watch Hulu all day and let you go to town. Like, it's discouraging. And, like, if you've been tattooed by an artist and you love your project and you are trying to get back in with that same artist, maybe this is the time where you reflect. I hear about this where it's like, oh, so and so did this part of my sleeve for me, but I can't get back in with them to do the lower half, or whatever the situation is. And I always got to, like, do a little bit of picking, like, well, did you get a hold of them, like, within this year to finish it for you? Because, like, schedules are super crazy this year. Like, whatever your wait was 5 years ago, double it now. So sometimes it's that simple. Like, it's just busier now. But the other thing is like, did you maybe do something that kind of broke etiquette and maybe rubbed your artist the wrong way and didn't even know? So I guess that's another point to this whole rant on today's episode is, there is a lot of etiquette. Like, how do you get to the top of the stack of applications or inquiries for a tattoo when you don't even know the etiquette, when you don't know the right things to say or do, or you don't know the things not to do? So if you're having a hard time getting back in with an artist you've already collected from, either they're just busy. They're just busy and they're working through what's already on their workload. And that's what you've got to be patient through. But if you're not getting any response whatsoever and you've already collected from an artist and you want to get back in with them and you want to collect with them some more, sometimes you got to like reflect and say, did I cancel on them too many times? Did I make their life harder? Did I add more of a workload to their plate than my fair share of a workload should have been? And if you are even thinking maybe I did, maybe I shouldn't have rescheduled those last two times. Maybe I should have just, whatever the situation is, it's all different for all of us, but whatever the situation is. So now if you realize that maybe you broke etiquette somewhere and maybe you did something that offended or hurt your artist's feelings, or just you complicated their schedule, or you accidentally wasted their time, or any of these things, if you're not in the tattoo world, you might not realize how big of a deal it is. You might think to yourself oh, they're busy, they're going to enjoy the day off. Where nah, I'm busy. I would have enjoyed to check something else off my list, so I'm less busy tomorrow. But there are, and that's my example. I get that a lot. People will be like, well, you've got a day off today, I can't make it in. It's thanks. You could have let me know 4 days ago that you might not have been able to make it, and I could have had a tentative backup plan, but now I'm sitting here with, I can't make any arrangements because it's day of. So that's where if you have maybe accidentally broken etiquette, if there was anything, if after listening to this it's weighing on your conscience, maybe this thing that I did or said, or this thing that I didn't do, maybe that, or some artists, they if they know you haven't taken proper aftercare of their tattoo, they won't schedule you again. If they know you're just gonna disrespect their work, you know what I mean? Some artists won't schedule you if they know you haven't followed their what they recommend. I'm not saying I'm not like that. I'm not saying that I know any artists personally that are like that, but some artists, it really bothers them when you disrespect their work. They put a lot into it, and if you don't take care of it, they don't want to give you any more of their energy. You know what I'm saying? So this is where you can, if you haven't gotten a response or you haven't been able to get back in, you can start all over. Start whole new introduction. Hey, it's been a long time, whatever, however your introduction is. But maybe you could even throw a loose apology in there. Hey, I know a few years ago when I collected this piece from you, my life was crazy and it was really hard for me to keep my appointments or keep things scheduled. But I'm in a better place now and I'd love to start a new project. Sometimes if you've broken the etiquette, you can fix it. You can. It's not especially if an artist has already worked on you. Artists, I call it firing clients. It's not often that we fire clients. I've only ever fired 2 my whole career. So it's we don't want to fire clients. We want to continue working on you. We want to continue working on your family. And once we've made that connection, we want to keep that connection there, and we want to give you more work that you love, not the other way around. So if by chance, if you don't live in the tattoo world and you maybe didn't realize that you broke etiquette and you complicated things for your artists, you can apologize. It's really a cool adult big thing to do. And I've had clients who were incredibly difficult, especially early on in my career when I was still doing tattoo parties and when I was working walk-in style shops and take anything and everything that came on. You're bound to get the homie of a homie that doesn't get that, they just don't get the etiquette. And I've had people like that hit me up years later, hey, I'm sorry about how things were the first go round, or the first, and for me, I think it's kind of cool when I see that growth in a client. It makes me I don't know. It kind of it makes me like a cheerleader for him when I see that a client has like, oh, you were a douche when you were 17, 18, 19, but now that you've got a kid, you're a pretty rad grown up. That happens sometimes. So like this has been a lot of rambling, but there's a lot of really easy ways to make your inquiry stand out in the stack. But if you have maybe broken etiquette, it might be a great way for your inquiry to stand out in the pack, just to be like, hey man, sorry how this experience went. Sorry, for whatever. And you don't even have to elaborate too crazily. For most artists are going to be like, oh, it's all right, man. You didn't know better, but I appreciate the apology. New start. Most artists are going to be like that, because if you're wearing our work, we want you to be cool people. We want you to like not only represent like tattooed people in a cool way, but like if you're wearing my work, I feel like you're representing me. We've spent hours together and we've talked about personal things, and I feel like we're direct representatives of one another. So if you're wearing my work, even if you have been a bonehead and like maybe you were a little too pushy when you were young, I'm going to want to work on you again, and I'm going to want to see that you've grown up. I'm going to want to see that like you're not a punk kid anymore that just thinks that because I want it now, I'm going to get it. It's really nice to see people like grow and mature and like find their patience. So I don't know. I guess there's you I think you'd really have to be like way out of left field for an artist to be like, no, I'm never going to work on you again. And that's where like you're probably crossing some other kind of line that isn't even about like tattoo etiquette and like respective schedules and time and things like that. Like if you're getting fired, you probably crossed a big timeline. I don't know. Is that even a thing that we can say about our clients? Can we say we fired them? Is that appropriate? That's what I like to call it. But yeah, be awesome. Be nice to your artist. Be pleasant. I don't know. It seems funny. I know a lot of times I get on like little tangents where I talk about how much manners matter. But they do. When you're talking about somebody that's busy and somebody that has a lot of demands for our time and attention, if we're just talking about our clients, that's a ton of people that we're accountable to. And then if we add in our family and then our coworkers, that's a lot of people that as artists we're accountable to all the time. So be patient, respect that, I guess. All of my clients are important to me. Like I said, there are some that are like my particular favorites just because I learn so much. I get excited because I know every time I see them, I'm going to learn 100 new things. But outside of like the clients who teach me, I love all of my clients. I love taking that time each day. Like it doesn't matter what the project is that I'm working on, but each day I show up to the shop and I have my client and they're my only attention for the day. They're my only concern for the day. It's kind of nice. I have all, before I'm at the shop with my one client, I have all of this demand for my time and attention. But once I sit down with that one person, everything else just fades away. And it's just me and that one collector, that one client. And I don't know, it's kind of nice just to make it their day. And I think that's why for me and my workflow in particular, I tell people at our consultations, like, set aside your whole day. I will hog up your whole day. Even if this is a 3 or 4 hour project, I'm going to hog up your whole day because we're going to visit. I like to eat with my clients. I really like enjoying meals with people. Like, just I talk all the time about how I like smoking weed with people because it like lets that communication barrier down, and it kind of like lets that energy flow. But I love sharing meals with my clients. Like, I don't know, it's something nice that I usually do Uber Eats, but even before Uber Eats, like I really liked if we would like walk down to a restaurant and grab a meal together on one of our breaks. I just like that time with my client. I like my clients to get all of me throughout the day as well. You know, I want all of my clients' time, but they're going to get all of mine in return. And I just think that makes for better projects. For me, when I started like removing time as a variable in my projects, when I just started scheduling things by the day, it really just gave me so much freedom. But it takes a lot of freedom from my clients to make that happen. Like, they've got to be committed to just chilling with me all day long. And, sometimes they might have to put their kids to bed through FaceTime instead of in person, but those are all commitments that we make for this special lifelong treasure that you're going to be able to carry with you for the rest of your life. And that's what it is. It's a permanent special mark that we're making. So like right from the get-go, you you want it to be special. You've gone to all this trouble to find the best artists. So now you just got to communicate with them in the best way. I know this has all been a lot of ranting, but it's a lot of I know there's a lot of helpful information in there, just because it's hard. It's hard to be the one that catches the artist's attention that you want. Like I said, I may have dozens of emails in my inbox any given time, but any particular month I only wrap up a handful of projects. So I can't commit to more projects than I'm completing, if that makes sense. If I'm committing to more than I'm completing, then I'm just adding more stress to my plate. And it's not like, that doesn't get anybody anywhere any faster. So it's just a game of patience. And sometimes people will, and I really like how organized my manager is now. She's got everybody in a list and everything goes in order. And if it's been a couple of months, she sends like touch base emails to see if you're still interested in being tattooed by me, or if you've gotten other ideas, or if your ideas have changed. Like, some people have been waiting on, they've been in my, like, let's call it my queue line. They've been waiting in queue for a consultation. And in the 4 months while they're waiting for their consultation, their idea totally changes, but usually it changes for the better. You know what I mean? So sometimes with the patients, there is a lot of magic. So I know it's a funny thing to hear artists over and over again, just be patient, just be patient, just be patient. But in that patience, your idea can evolve. You might see something new that your artist is doing that they hadn't done before, because all artists who care are growing. We're all getting better all the time, and we're all trying new tricks, or we should be trying new tricks all the time. So like for instance, I've had people that have messaged me and they'll send me like their ideas and a couple of pictures of my own work that they like, which I actually enjoy when people do that, when they'll take like a few screenshots off of my Instagram and they like share their ideas with me and then their reference photos. And they're like, but I like this, this, and this that you've done. That goes back to the very first point that I was trying to make. Like, this is what I like about your work. I work in so many styles that really helps me narrow it down. Like, what wavelength is this person on, and what are they looking for? So when they've got like their ideas, like 3 or 4 photos with explaining their ideas, and then like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 photos of work that I've already done, that's doing 2 things. One, it lets me know their ideas. It lets me know like what their brainstorm is and what they're kind of visualizing, whether they're sending me photos of other tattoos or whether they're just sending me art or photography or whatever it is. It gives me an idea of their idea. It kind of just the start, the seed of an idea for me. And then the other thing, when they send me tattoos that I have done in the past, even if it's like, this isn't what I want, but I really like the way you did this, that lets me know their taste. It lets me know, like, out of all the things that I'm capable of doing, it lets me know that this is what they like. This little spectrum over here, this is what they like about what I can do. So that allows me to just instantly start brainstorming in that one direction. And then I can expound and push that direction even further than just being like a shot in the dark. Like, oh, they like a tattoo that I've done. Okay. But when they send like the screenshot of the works that I've done that they like, then we can have a conversation of how we can combine different ideas from different tattoos, or how we can combine ideas from different paintings that I've done. That makes it really nice. It kind of, like I said, it gives me both the window into their idea, but it also lets me know their specific taste when in regards to my work. Yeah, that's super important. Choosing the right reference photos. Sometimes it can be done all in words. Occasionally I do have clients that are good enough at describing things that they can build pictures with their words, which is excellent. It's awesome when that happens. But the more reference photos you can shoot over, the more I know, the more I can just like I said earlier, wrap my head around your tastes. I remember when Adam and I were consulting about my hand, we actually just kind of like texted back and forth because we were in the middle of, my leg wasn't finished yet, and I don't think my chest was finished yet, or maybe we had just finished my leg and I decided to do my hand. But we already knew each other well, and Adam already had done a lot of work on me, so he knew my tastes. However, for my hand, my idea was super vague, but it was like, I would like something bright and crazy on my hand. I've decided I'm never going to go back to retail. I'm going to be tattooing for the rest of my life. So it's time to do my hand. So my ideas were like, I sent him photos of bismuth crystals, and I sent him some photos of nautilus shell fossils. So I've got this cool like alien version of a half alive nautilus shell on my hand, and my fingers are kind of like bismuthy. It's without having a specific picture in mind, but just like these vague ideas, like, if you were to combine this with this, where would your imagination go? And I love what he came up with. But it wasn't words that brought that idea into fruition. It was, what if you combine this and this with your magic? And it came out great. I love my hand. I love showing it to people. I love sharing it with people. I love meeting people in the wild and they're like, "Oh, I've seen that hand." It's fun and weird, um that came from me being totally open and being like, "Okay, hand ideas, bismuth, nautilus shell, alien atom stuff, go." Boom, done. Sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes, ideas are much more, it depends on how much like symbolism and representation there is going on with some things, but um sometimes sometimes the ideas don't just click right away. Sometimes it takes an actual like face-to-face consultation, and it takes that conversation and that back and forth to like sculpt the idea, to like maybe just bring the idea from one person's brain into the other's brain. And then from there, you get even more magic that will change and influence the idea to usually make it better. But, yeah, be flexible, be cool, don't be a squeaky wheel. Those are all the ways to get your artist's attention. You gotta, once you've found the right artist, message them, let them know what you like about their work, let them know specific pieces of theirs that you like. That can be super helpful. Um, let them know that you're flexible. Sometimes clients don't have the freedom to be flexible either. sometimes right off the rip, I know, like before I've even had a consultation with somebody, Emily will have already had the availability discussion over email. And we know going into the consultation that they are only available 2 Saturdays a month. And we have to make it work either of those days, or our appointments are going to have to just be further apart. So sometimes I know that going in. So, and in those instances, like right now, my Saturdays are hit. I don't have like, I have quite a few clients that just need Saturdays right now. So that means if you are in my waiting list, we're going to have the conversation like, yes, you're next in line as soon as I have a Saturday available. So they might be waiting another few months while I'm wrapping up these other projects that I'm committed to that are only available on Saturdays. So, but when we know that going in, it's not a struggle. It's not a challenge. What is a challenge is if you have your consultation and you say, I've got totally open availability. Like if I've got a week notice, I can make any day work. And then we get into the project and all of a sudden you're now only available on Saturdays also. And that's not what we talked about. And that's not calculated into what I have to offer my other people that I'm committed to Saturdays only on. So that's where, like, be honest from the start. If you're like, I have wanted to get tattooed by you for years, but I am only available on the 15th through the 17th of every month, or I'm only available on Tuesdays after this time. If you're honest about that from the start, but your project is rad enough and you love your artist and your artist thinks you're a rad, laid back, easy to work with person, if you just let them know, like, hey, I have a crazy job and these are my availabilities. We know. It's been several years since I've worked on him, but I have one client, his name's Ryan, and he was awesome. He is awesome. He collected so much work from me in a very short period. And I say a very short period of time, it was like 3 years, but he collected a couple of sleeves. We did his rib, we did a lot of stuff. He really got a lot of work from me. But he was one of those people where I knew every time we scheduled an appointment that it was a 50-50 shot. So with Ryan, he was actually a lineman. So anytime there was a storm or anything, he would get called and he would just have to go. Like when a city's out of power, you've got to go restore power. That was his job. So knowing that, and knowing that from our very first conversation on, it made it very easy to be like, oh, I've got an appointment with Ryan this week. Let me check the weather and see if there are any storms anywhere. So now as an artist, I already know I can be like, oh, it's going to be clear all week long. I know I'm going to see Ryan Saturday. It's going to be great. Or like, ooh, there's a hurricane coming in. There might be power outages somewhere down south and he might have to go down south. Or there might be something going on out west and he has to go out west. It's nice to know it ahead of time, because then when it happens, I've already got a tentative backup plan. Like if I know I've got an appointment with Ryan coming up and it is storm season, I'm probably going to hit up like one of my friends that I'm working on, or maybe one of my other regular projects, and be like, hey, I've got a client, 50-50 chance he might not show Saturday. If he's unable to come, do you want the spot? If I can make those arrangements 4 or 5 days ahead of time, or you know what I mean, then I've got a backup plan, and we can that backup plan, I can play it by ear. And but if I don't know that there are extenuating circumstances, I can't plan accordingly, if that makes sense. Like if I know you've got a crazy busy schedule and I know like you're going to have to travel at the drop of a hat. People in the medical profession, I've had to abruptly end sessions because I was working on somebody that was on call. Firefighters, RNs, it's just a thing that happens. Like we got to go in. They just called me for an extra shift, and it just is what it is. But like when we know ahead of time there are extenuating circumstances, we can have a backup plan. If you just cancel a day or two ahead of time, we can't fill that spot with somebody who might have been available because they didn't have time to make their arrangements. So it's so incredibly important. It really is. Like I said, for me, like it's not even about my time or my money, or because like I've got enough on my plate that I can keep myself busy. It's just disrespectful to the other clients, where if I know, like for instance, I guess even if it's not even like a job situation, one of my favorite things is when somebody messages me, and they can DM me on Instagram. They don't always have to email me, but if they're like, hey, there's a chance I might get called into work, or hey, there's a chance I might not be able to find a sitter, or like, you don't even have to give me any specifics whatsoever. If you just let me know several days ahead of time, like, hey, extenuating circumstances, maybe have a backup plan. I can have a backup plan. I can make arrangements to use that time the most wisely to be fair to everybody. Um, it's so important. It's a funny thing to be like, communication is incredibly important, but we don't need to know the details. I feel like the details are never any of my business unless you want to share them. But if you know a few days ahead of time that there's even a chance that you're not going to be able to make it, like even if it's just like hey, if this falls through, I'm not going to be able to make this happen, or hey, if this doesn't happen, I'm not going to be able to make my tattoo appointment happen. Let us know. Like we like I said, we don't need to know the specifics. We just need to have like a backup plan in case your plans do fall through. And it's really easy if we've got the time to make it happen. It's just not easy if it's a day or two ahead of time. And that's why most artists will keep your deposits. And that's why, there are places that are like, if you cancel within 4 days, we keep your deposit. Some places, if you cancel within a week, they keep your deposit. Um, it's just important. If you're not able to keep it, like try your best to keep your appointments. Try and like really make them a priority, because as a collector myself, I know I make my tattoo sessions a priority, but as an artist, that is my priority. Every single day, you, my client, are my priority. And I just want the same respect back, I guess. Like, that sounds like a really simple way to say it, but like if I'm respecting you by dedicating all of my time to you and depending on you to show up, give me the same. I'm going to show up. Like I promise, I'm going to show up. Um but if you're unable to, even if it's just like hey, there's a 80% chance I'm going to be able to make it Thursday and a 20% chance that I'm not. Like even just that vague would be enough to like let your artist get together a backup plan. Like, I don't want to cancel. I really, really want to keep my appointment, but there's a chance I might have to cancel. That gives us a chance to have a backup plan. And that's the way to not break that etiquette. That's the way to not be inconvenient to your artist, is by communicating ahead enough. However, don't do it over and over again. Don't reschedule one appointment 3 or 4 or 5 times. Don't do that, because now your one appointment has really cost your artist a lot of money. Like, we get it, things happen, but I don't know. It's a conundrum that like sometimes I'm not sure how to deal with, because it's like, I want to do your work. I want to do this for you, but I can't get you to want to be here on the day you said you wanted to be here. And that's where it goes back to that discouraging feeling again. Like as an artist, it's discouraging. And then at the same time, my time is wasted. My other clients' time, who they could have been in the chair, that's been wasted. So um but yeah, okay. I think I've touched on everything that I had on my list. It was kind of like a ramble about today, and I think today's going to be a shorter episode. Um, but yeah, so say you've picked your artist out. What's next? What do we do? Be nice. Be nice. Be patient. I just talk to so many artists right now, and I feel like that's one of the biggest headaches as artists, as my fellow artists. We're struggling to accommodate everybody. It's not that the work isn't there; it's that there's so much work there that we feel stressed out all the time. So that's why I just keep saying it over and over again. Be nice, be patient, be understanding that we've got more on our plate right now than we usually do. I know at Red Tree, once I know it's been a while since we were closed down from COVID, but once it's like while we were closed down, our list just grew longer and longer of people that wanted work. And while that list is growing longer, we weren't completing any projects. So it's like we backed up. It's like we doubled the amount of projects on all of our wait lists and all of our schedules, but we didn't have double the time to complete them. So that's why I say, if artists were booked 2 and 3 months out 2 years ago, they're going to be booked 6 months out now, just because we're all still playing catch up from that. Like once we were able to come back to work, we're still playing catch up because, a lot of tattoo projects aren't just one session, one person may take several days. So it's kind of an awesome time to be a tattooer because there's so much work out there being done, and there are so many new people collecting, and there are so many people that want to collect good work and want to collect big pieces and want to be involved in the community. But we're all so there's just always a line. Like I said, 2 years ago, where the line might have been 2 or 3 months, it's going to be double that for a good artist now. So that's where if you've messaged your artist 2 or 3 times and you still haven't heard back, don't send that fourth message being curt. Do you know what I mean? Don't send that fourth message like, "Hey man, I've messaged you 3 times already. Like, are you ever even going to reply?" Because now they're going to feel frustrated that you're frustrated. And rather than coming at it from a point of frustration that your artist didn't reply to you, just remember that their plate is already full and that's why they didn't reply to you. And one of the things that, like, the downside about being an artist and taking on too many projects is like when you add more work to your workload, it doesn't get accomplished any faster. So like the way that I'm doing things right now, I take on 25 projects at a time, and that's a solid month's worth of work for anybody. So I take on 25 projects, and when I finish a few, we schedule a few consultations. So that keeps me right at that between 20 and 25 projects, and that's really comfortable for me. But my wait list, like I try not to even look at it. Like I might look at like the first few names that are going to be next for consultations, but other than that, I don't scroll all the way to the bottom. I don't know how long that wait list is. And the funny conundrum is like I could tell you, like I could count and tell you how many people are on that wait list, but I can't tell you how long it's going to take to get to the next person. So I know I feel like I've found a pretty good system through a lot of like really good advice from a lot of artists that I really look up to. And I don't personally carry a ton of stress anymore. It's gotten a lot better through like the system that my manager and I have put together. Like it's fair. Like if you can't wait your turn, like we've known how lines work since kindergarten. Like if I can't make the line move any faster, then my 2 hands can complete projects. So like being frustrated isn't going to make you move through that line any more quickly. It's just the patience factor, man. It, a few years ago, you used to be able to like go see your artist, set something up a few days later and done, run it. But we're like, it's a I don't want to say like post COVID, but post COVID tattooing is so different because our schedules and our time are so much more of a commodity than they were before. And when you don't get a response or the response is no, don't take that as necessarily you've done anything wrong. I mean, take it more like the line's just closed right now, like you can't it's almost like being mad that something is out of stock. Like I can't sell you more time than I have. As an artist, I can't sell more time than exists. And my body is only capable of working so much. My hands, my back, my mind, my eyes, they're only capable of working so many hours a week at the level that I want them to work at. Have I had times in my career where I was working over 100 hours a week? Absolutely. Was I doing top-notch work at the end of that 100-hour week? Probably not. You know, when you're tired, your eyes don't focus quite the same. When you're tired, your dexterity, your fine motor skills aren't quite as sharp. And I mean, we're tattooing, we're making these we need to make quality marks as we tattoo. And how do you make quality marks with such tiny precision equipment if your hands aren't at 100% and your eyes aren't at 100%? So, I mean, even if you pressure an artist with more money, you're not going to get better work. Or even if you get good work, you're going to be shortchanging another person. So, patience is the name of the game. And like I see, here's a little word of advice if any artists happen to be listening. Patience is a name of the game. You can't get everybody in every week. If you're working yourself ragged, please stop. Take days off, take breaks, rest your body, rest your eyes, rest your mind. If you are surviving on 5-hour energy and Red Bull, take a day off, man. Like, don't do that to your body. If you're pushing it, if you're working 70 and 80 and 90 and 100 hours a week just trying to get people through your door and keep people happy, you're not happy. And as an artist, you do your best work when you're not happy and when you're not focused and when you feel like you're drained. So the stress goes both ways. Like some artists will feel very pressured by the long wait list and they'll start, and I'm guilty of this. I used to just work through my days off. It would be like, well, I mean, I got next Tuesday scheduled off, but I mean, I don't really have any plans. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and work on you. Now, what I just did was I took my one day off in a 2-week stretch and I said, I don't have plans anyways. I'm going to work on you. Where what I really should have done was I should have, since it's my only day off in a 2-week stretch, I should have gone home and slept and done laundry and like hydrated and maybe had like good meals instead of fast food or whatever we're living on while we're working. Um, so so right now it's not in your heads, collectors. It's not in your heads. It is harder to get in with good artists right now, and it does take a little bit longer. But the trick is to be patient. The trick is to be patient, be cool, and just let your artists know the qualities of their work that you are looking for. Let your artists know what drew your eye to them. That's going to kind of push your inquiry to the top, because there's a difference between a person that, for me, there's a difference between a person that wants to get tattooed and there's a person that wants to get tattooed by Fawn. Like, even if it's outside of my wheelhouse, if the circumstances are right, like I want to connect with people and I want to work on people that want me to work on them. But if you messaged me and the only reason you messaged me is because somebody you went to high school with recommended me on Facebook. Well, I mean, what do you want? Like, I can recommend the right artist for you, but like, you didn't know who I was 2 days ago. And have you looked at my work yet? So that's where you want to separate yourself from those two packs. You know, if you're somebody that just wants to get tattooed, I'm going to help you find a good tattooer. I don't want you to get bad work, but I'm probably not the artist because my plate's full of this work that I'm experimenting and exploring with. Um, yeah, firing up the last blizzard of the day. trying to think if there's any other advice I can give before I sign off. I knew today wasn't going to be a particularly long episode. I feel like it's been a lot of me like ranting and bouncing around these topics. But there's just things it's not that I want to repeat it. I just want everybody to understand in different the more ways I say it, the more likely somebody is to understand, I feel. But we're not it's not that artists don't want to work on you, and it's not that we are just neglecting our emails. It's not that we just, it's not the lazy factor. And if you make your artist feel like you think they're lazy, that's rubbing them the wrong way. And it's just false. Like right now, artists are so busy. Like the tattoo community is booming right now. It's busier than it ever has been. There are more collectors than there ever has been. There are more tattooers than there ever have been, but like there are still more collectors. There's still more collectors to go around than there are tattoos. So just be patient. Like the number of people collecting is growing quicker than the number of people able to do them. But we've got this whole new generation of tattoo artists that are coming up. Like it's amazing what people are becoming capable of. So it is discouraging how long it might take to get in with a good artist, but once you get in with that artist, they're going to give you 100% of their time and their attention and their dedication. So that's the trade-off. But just be patient with the whole process. It's worth it. It definitely, some of my projects, I've said before, Adam told me no twice before he agreed to work on me. And my ideas evolved, my ideas changed, and they changed into something better. And as they changed, like Adam and I became on the same wavelength. And, I ended up collecting some amazing work that I'm really, really proud of. But if I would have, like the first time he was like, I don't know if that's really something I want to do right now. Like if the first time he said that, I would have gotten discouraged and just given up. Yeah, it's hard telling. Like I might not have even like jumped into any really big tattoos, but I patiently kept pursuing it. And anytime I'd see him, it'd be like, hey, so I'm kind of thinking about it like this now. And as my idea evolved, he got more excited about it. So back to like the magic with the patience. That patient time, a tattoo is a lifelong commitment, and you're going to have it and you're going to show it off for the rest of your life, and you're going to talk about it for the rest of your life. Let it evolve, let it be organic, let it, if it takes 6 or 9 months longer, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. Let it take 6 or 9 months longer. Like let it take as long as it needs to take. If your artist has a wait list, just be like, okay, I will gladly wait. One of the mistakes is I've had people in the past, they'll hit me up and they'll be like, well, how long's your wait list? And I'll tell them 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, however long it is at the time. And they'll be like, okay, I'll hit you up later on then when your wait's not so long. Does that even make sense? Like, wouldn't you want to like get in line so that like 6 months down the road when you're thinking about getting tattooed again, like your appointment will just be coming up? So don't get discouraged if somebody says they have a long wait. Just say, okay, well, how do I get in line? That should be your next question. And from there, it's just a matter of patience. All right, guys. Well, I've done a lot of umming. I've done a lot of bouncing around my list of things to talk about on my phone. Next week, I'm going to try to have Faith back with me. I really think it's going to be a fun episode. Those of you that follow and actually like care about my personal past and my history, I've known her since I was 8 years old. So she dated my older brother, and she's got so many just like fun stories about me. Later on in life, she and I were roommates for a while. And now as adults, we might go several months without seeing each other, but when we check in, it's just like tiny little family reunion. But I think you guys will absolutely love her. She's a totally different kind of hippie. And and just super passionate about art and music. And like I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, she's one of the first like heavily tattooed people that I knew. Like my brother was tattooed, she was tattooed. But as far as women go, she was, you know, she was one of the first ones that I like really looked at her work, and it was colorful and it was pretty, and it looked like, her back piece looks like this crazy psychedelic butterfly made out of mushrooms, which is super trippy. But it if not for knowing her, it's hard telling if I would have ever hmm, gotten as serious into tattooing. Oh, and another thing, I did my very first portrait on her. So we'll get her to show that off. You get to see like the evolution of my work. And then some other artists who I looked up to when I was first starting out have worked on her. So I'm really excited to actually share that little bit of my own history through somebody else's point of view. It's funny to like sit and talk about myself, but it's kind of fun to hear somebody else just like tell little stories that I'm included in from growing up through now. So next week for sure, I'm going to have Faith here with me, and we'll have Jordan back, and it's just going to be a really fun show next week. So if you've been watching all along, it'll be fun. If you only catch a few episodes, next week will be a good one to like jump in and kind of like be reintroduced to me and Jordan, and hopefully a new regular attendee, Faith. So she's been following on the Reinventing platform for months now. So she's really super excited to join us. So that's why I'm so bummed that things fell through today, but we'll get it together. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to message me on Instagram or through any of the platforms that we're streaming on. I'm definitely starting to interact a little bit more with my live feeds. So if you have any questions about anything that I do or use while I'm tattooing, I'm kind of an open book. This show is all about collecting, but I definitely am open to share any part of my process with anybody who wants to know. So hit me up, follow my live videos when I'm sharing on the gram or the TikTok